So after my last video, some people have asked me to explain what is hemophilia. So let me explain this to you in fairly simple terms. Hemophilia, spelled Hemophilia, it's a bleeding disorder that occurs mostly in males that basically limits our ability to stop clotting. And so everything from skin cuts to internal bleeding is greatly diminished. I actually have less than 1% of what's known as factor 8. And the factors, what they do is they all line up in a row and they form basically a netting that is there before the white blood cells get there. And so the white blood cells get caught in this netting and they all line up in like an order, like factor 1, factor 2, but they don't all go in order. They found out some things weren't factors, so they stopped calling them factors. But the one I'm missing is factor 8. It's made in the liver, of all places, and its explanation on how to be made happens to be on the X chromosome. And so what happens is that since being male, I only have one X chromosome, my liver doesn't know how to make factor 8 very well. And so normal person may have, they call average somewhere around 80%, but I have less than 1% of this factor. So what that means is that when these fibers line up to form that netting, to catch the white blood cells, that netting has holes in it, and it's not lining up. It's not a firm rope, if you want to call it that, or string. And so the white blood cells just keep blowing by until enough of them dry up and sit there to stop the bleeding. On the skin, this isn't a problem because white blood cells tend to dry. And so, skin cuts, stuff like that, don't seem to affect me. Where the problem comes in is internal bleeding. So everything from like twisting your ankle, you'll feel that pop. Well, that pop is usually like blood cells popping or breaking, or like your veins breaking. And then for a normal person, you'll have a little bit of bleeding for a little while, and then it'll go away. For me, what happens is it just keeps bleeding, and blood just keeps pooling. And after a while, there's swelling, and then the swelling turns into throbbing pain, and it's just all bad. The other problem is that after a while, this blood starts to eat away at other things because it's where it shouldn't be. So like inside of a joint, it starts to eat away at the joint itself. And so that's what's happened to me is I have 2 knee replacements. Both my knees have had to be replaced because basically all the cartilage was gone, everything inside the knees were gone, and so the only thing we could do was to put metal knees in. Same thing, my left ankle. Just one of the bones just got really bad, so they had to fuse 2 of the bones together. So some of the motion in my left ankle is limited. My right ankle's getting bad, but then even across my whole body, my back, my hands, my elbows, my shoulders, my hips, just anything that moves, neck. Oddly enough, not my mouth. Go figure. I guess you can't stop me. They all hurt because those joints, when there's bleeding into them, slowly eats away at the joints. And so it basically creates almost like a rheumatoid arthritis as things go on. And so, I have the same issues, my last post, rain equals pain. Most people that experience arthritis have that pain. And so the way that you treat hemophilia is there is an injectable medicine that you inject into your body. You actually have to find a vein, and I don't show this to everybody, so why not? That right there, that's my arm, and you'll probably know, kind of like druggies have, I've got tracks on my arms because I have to stick a needle in my arm and give myself this medicine a couple times a week just to keep me able to go, because what that does is that replaces the part of the blood that I'm missing. The problem with that is it's got what they call a 24-hour half-life, which means after 24 hours, that's it. It's over. It's done. It's used up. My body's already used it up, and it's gone. So up until that point, I'm usually pretty good. So does that solve everything. No. What that does is that will slow or stop the bleeding, but it doesn't always work on the first time. That's why I have to do it a few times a week. And it's only a temporary fix, and it doesn't take away the pain. Not until the swelling's gone away. And so that's just my life. So every few days I have to take a shot in the arm, in the vein. I do that myself. I've taught my wife to do it. And I'm actually even teaching my daughter a little bit about it. So, something a little different. But that's kind of, in brief, what hemophilia is. It's a bleeding disorder. It affects the joints, the muscles, and swelling, and then causes damage, and can cause life-threatening damage. So, but I think that's enough for this one. I'll give you a little bit more background on how it's affected my life in another post, but that's what is hemophilia.